Picture a child in the 1950s. He kneels on the pavement, measures the distance, closes one eye, and aims a glass marble. He throws it, hoping to knock the other marbles out of a chalk circle. There are rules, there is a challenge, and there is an uncertain outcome. Now look at a modern player locked into the flickering glow of a monitor. The technology has leaped forward by light years, but if you measure the psychological state of that player, the intense focus, the dopamine response, the drive to win, it is exactly the same. While we treat the video game as a radical digital departure from the past, many of its core components are surprisingly old. The medium inherited 3,000 years of existing rules, challenges, and competition, and then translated all of those mechanics into pure electricity. To understand how this industry conquered the globe so quickly, we have to deconstruct its modern form. We have to trace its components back to an ancient code already written into our cultural DNA. In 1938, historian Johan Huizinga proposed that civilization doesn't merely allow for play during our downtime, it actually grows out of the act of playing. He called this space the magic circle. It's a strictly defined conceptual boundary, like a sports field or a playing board, where the ordinary rules of reality are temporarily suspended and replaced by the artificial rules of the game. This impulse exists far beyond the human experience. It is an ancient evolutionary program, seen in lion cubs wrestling in the grass to simulate combat. Evolution found play so useful for teaching survival skills that it kept the program running across millions of years and thousands of species. Human culture took that raw biological instinct and codified it. We turned the violent chaos of actual warfare into the abstract simulation of chess, where the consequences are reversible and the kings don't actually die. We turned real estate economics into monopoly. The underlying rules, the simulation mechanics, and the boundaries of that magic circle are an inherited biological legacy. The screen is just the newest place we draw the circle. The public gaming ecosystem has its own lineage, beginning with an 18th century French parlor game called Bagatelle, an elegant tabletop game played by aristocrats. In the 1930s, Bagatelle left the parlor and entered the public sphere. Manufacturers shrunk it down, added bumpers, and created the coin-operated pinball machine. It commercialized the public gaming space, giving people a cheap way to chase a high score in bars and train stations. This accessibility made authorities nervous. Because early pinball lacked reliable controls, politicians classified it as a gambling device. New York City banned pinball machines entirely in 1942. That prohibition lasted for 34 years. The engineering fix arrived in 1947. Designers added small mechanical flippers to the bottom of the board. Suddenly, players could react and aim. That simple addition legally transformed pinball into a game of active skill. A 1950s pinball machine contains the blueprint for modern digital games. The coin-op access, the dedicated social venue, and the hierarchy of local champions were firmly established decades before a computer ever ran a game. There was still one physical barrier left to cross. In marbles, chess, and even pinball, your hands directly manipulate the physical game pieces. The modern interface required a new kind of separation. The shift started in 1957 with a British toy called Scalextric. It took standard tin plate toy cars, replacing their mechanical spring motors with tiny electric ones, and placed them on a rubber grooved track that carried a current. This was a revolution in interface design. For the first time, the player's physical gesture was separated from the consequence, mediated by an electronic controller. Once action is mediated by electricity, the physical objects themselves become optional. In 1962, researchers at MIT took this concept into a fully digital space, programming a game called Spacewar on massive, room-sized university computers. Then, in 1972, Atari released Pong. It took that purely digital mediation from the university labs and dropped it directly into the coin-operated social ecosystem of the neighborhood bar. The glass marble had become a digital pixel. The physical mechanics of play had completed their translation into pure electricity. If games inherited rules from biology, their social spaces from pinball, and controls from electric cars, we must look closer to see what the digital age actually added. The answer lies in how games operate compared to the traditional media formats of the 20th century, like television, radio, and cinema. Those traditional formats broadcast a linear narrative. A movie plays its story to a passive audience. The medium projects its images and sound regardless of what the people in the seats are doing. The medium transmits, and you receive. Here is the core innovation of the video game. On the left, a traditional broadcast flows continuously as an unstoppable wave. On the right, the digital system creates a halted loop. The medium waits, ceasing to progress without the player's active input. Interactivity reshapes how we hold a story in our memory. The player learns a physical alphabet to navigate the simulation, becoming the agent who writes the experience through their own decisions. Video games conquered the world because they took our oldest evolutionary instinct and liberated it from the heavy physical constraints of the real world. They gave our ancient desire to play a brand new cultural alphabet, written entirely in light and electricity.